All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Today we are trying something a little bit new, a little bit different, but hey, that's the name of the game and kind of how we like to do things around here. So yesterday we had a post out there that the middle school robotics teams, they are going to Dallas, Texas. And I reached out to the coaches and I was like, hey, let's try something new and have a little bit of fun, and asked them to come in to the studio here and kind of talk to us about their trip. And lo and behold, they agreed, shockingly enough. And I was able to get them in. So with me today, I have Mr. Miller, Mr. Gomez, and Mr. Anderson. So go ahead and we'll just go down the line, kind of introduce yourself, where you're at, and your how long you've been doing robotics. So we'll start with Mr. Miller.
All right, I'm Jeff Miller. I'm at West Middle School. Been in robotics as long as it's been at West, I think about 7 years now.
My name's Jesus Gomez, and I am over at East Valley Middle School. I've been teaching robotics for about 5 years now.
And I'm Jeff Anderson. I'm kind of the rookie at this. This is our second year, and I'm at South Middle School.
Awesome. So robotics, when I hear robotics and playing with robots, I'm thinking, the old Saved by the Bell and Screech and his robot, doing chores for him, all that fun jazz. But that's not what you guys are doing at all. And I also think of BattleBots, but that's kind of what you're doing, but not really. So who can explain to us what you guys are actually doing with robotics?
Jesus, I think you got this one.
All right. Well, so each team builds a robot. Usually a team of 4 students will build a robot that has to compete and complete a task. And so this year, the game is called Spin Up. It's basically a game of Frisbee golf. And so the students have to build a robot that will pick up little Frisbee discs that are about 5 inches in diameter, and they have to shoot them into goals, just like you would have on a Frisbee golf course. And they have 2 minutes to score as many points as they can. 15 seconds of that is completely autonomous, so it's programmed code without the use of a driver. And then they have 1 minute and 45 seconds of driver control with a remote control to score as many points as you can. There are 2 robots that go up against 2 other robots. So we have a red team and a blue team, and they both go up against each other.
So Frisbee golf style, and they have to self-drive? Like the kids are coding this themselves?
Yeah, so the robot has a remote control that they've coded to perform certain tasks. So they have to pick up a disc. They have to then shoot the disc into the goal inside of a 12-foot by 12-foot arena. And so they're not going outside. They're inside in an arena, and they're picking up these discs and shooting them into those goals.
So when you're saying that they have to code this, is it like they're telling the controller up, left, right?
Correct. Yes.
A, B, B, A, select start, the old Konami code. Jeff's over there laughing. He knows what I'm talking about. Or is it like a certain type of code? Like, are they doing Python coding, HTML coding, or a mixture of all the above?
So at this level, we start them out on a block coding, just because it's easier. They can go into C++ and Python, but right now they're just doing block coding where it's joystick 1, forward and backward, joystick 2, left and right, and then it's kind of like an Xbox controller remote. And so they have A, B, and X and Y and right, left. They got paddles up front and everything. So they can code all of those depending on the complexity of their robot. Their robot might have this turns it, but this brings it in, this shoots it out, this rotates it, this releases something. This has an air pneumatic system on it, so I'll go in or out with my air. Lots of different things. Sky's the limit for them.
Now, that's super cool. So Jeff Miller, sorry, not Jeff Anderson, I'll get to you in a second. Over at West, they have West Fusion going on. Has that played a role into robotics at all, or is it eventually going to play a role into it?
We are looking at integrating it more into the Fusion program, but currently robotics is an elective. So we do have some Fusion students that exit the Fusion program for their elective, and they come into the robotics program for that. But it's not integrated into the Fusion projects or the project-based learning that's happening there yet.
Gotcha. And then other Jeff, Mr. Anderson, being in its first couple of years over at South, what are some early steps that you guys have been taking to get the program started and to gain the momentum that to get you to the part or to the point where you're at now?
Winning everything. That's what they do.
Yeah.
You know, that's honestly, I've had really good kids that have just dived in, and you know, these are kids that show up at 6:45 in the morning, and then they spend their lunch hour in there, and then they want to stay till 5 or 6 o'clock at night every single day of the school year. And it's not a normal classroom by any means, just because we have such an engagement of those kids. Once they get started, it's hard to make them stop, and it's at some point I got to say, go home. You know, I'd like to build off what Jesus was talking about with the game also. You know, not only are they trying to play the game and score points, but it's part battle bots at the same time. So it's offense and defense and crashing into people while they're trying to shoot these discs. And it's kind of a crazy thing for people that don't know what it's like or haven't seen it. The kids love it. They're totally bought in. And, you know, like I said, I've been lucky to have 2 years of kids that have just been willing to jump in and do research, and it's totally student-driven. You know, we're there as kind of mentors and guides. We're not doing things for them or teaching them specific skills. We all have a 7th grade class that we do that in. But the 8th grade classes for these competitions is totally student-driven. They have to do the research. They've got to do an engineering notebook. So there's a lot there. So for us to have been in this for 2 years and have kids that are like that, I feel very fortunate, quite honestly, because my first love was never robotics, honestly.
No, that's awesome to hear that the kids are leading the way. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure that you're learning a lot more from them than they probably even realize, just by what they're doing.
Well, and they're learning, you know, those skills of being able to pursue something or being able to problem solve something. They are learning those life skills that we don't necessarily teach in a classroom all the time. We talk about it some, but we don't ever really have the experience of, well, this broke, so now what do I do?
Right.
And they have to fix it. You know, we can kind of give them some guidance, but it's on them, which is a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, and it's probably fun for, you know, all three of you to see them problem solve, work through it, and then grow as a human from where they started to where they're at, and then overcome those obstacles.
Oh, absolutely.
And probably, you know, while I'm looking at my own son when he runs into those kinds of situations, and the outcome is vastly better than what he ever initially intended it to be, because he had to problem solve to that point. And so that's super cool. So a couple things here really quick before we wrap it up. With programs being newer, I should say. One, I wish I could, you know, one of the kids would invent a time machine so that we can go back, because I wish my middle school had something like this. I think we had, you know, Tinker Toys and, you know, Rector sets and, you know, things like that. Nothing like this. What are some ways that the community as a whole could either become involved or support the robotics teams?
Well, we're always looking for volunteers during the season to help out, to put on an event. We put on a middle school event here in Nampa every year, and it takes a lot of manpower. It takes judges, referees, scorekeepers. We have people that look at the engineering notebooks and have to go and score them and help facilitate all that. We have a hospitality room for all the volunteers. There's a lot of setup, hours and hours of setup of the fields, of the electronics, of all the TV screens and everything for for the tournament to go on smoothly. And so we're always looking for volunteers to help out. We're always looking for just people to come out and cheer on the kids and help motivate them. And they love, the kids love, like Jeff was saying, they love being in the classroom and they love being there, and trying to get them out of the classroom is kind of the difficult part, but it's really cool to see. But in the community, asking questions and cheering these kids on.
Now, going to Dallas, you guys are heading out tomorrow. You guys are going to be there, what, 3-4 days? Is that right? How can the community follow the trip? I know one thing that I want to do is, as you guys send me pictures and stuff, I'm going to be posting them as quickly as I can, get them up there. I also want to get a dedicated web page created so that we can just post them all, because we all know social media just gets bombarded with things and it gets lost. But that aside, how can the public follow you guys on this trip?
Robotevents.com is a great website. You can also do a couple keyword searches. If you Google VEX Worlds 2023, it'll bring you to their homepage, their webpage. It's got agendas. It's got the whole lineup of what's going on. But robotevents.com is where you can do live stream viewing of the event, and they'll be doing it all Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for the middle school competition.
We also have the VEX Via app for your phone, for Android and for Apple. It's called VEX Via. Go on to current events, the ones that are happening now, and you'll find the World Championships in Dallas. There'll be a high school one and a middle school one. And so you find the high school one, and then you can search for those teams, the Nampa teams there also.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to put those on a post as well to link them out, make it easy for people listening in or to see tomorrow. Lastly, or Jeff, do you have thing out there?
I was just going to say also that this is what is called the VEX World Championships, and it truly is. I think we've got 480 teams with 4 kids on a team, all showing up in one building. And I think there was, last count, 24 countries of kids, different languages, different situations, from robotic clubs to middle school programs. It's truly a world competition, which is pretty outstanding.
Yeah, and that's actually where I was going to go with last. Is it's world. It's not Idaho. It's not Nampa. It's everywhere, which is super awesome to have 3 teams from our district alone going. So I mean, right there, that's a huge win. So I mean, honestly, congrats. Tell the kids how proud we are, and I mean, I'm only talking about myself. I mean, I one day, my son's in 5th grade, like, hey Zane, next year, I want to go. So,
yeah,
but I mean, that's super cool. Out of the, what did you say, 440?
480, I think. Was
480 teams. We have 3 of those in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, that's nuts.
It's like the Olympics of robotics. It truly is. They'll have a parade of nations. They'll have opening and closing ceremonies, and they go above and beyond with this. So you can watch that on the link, the opening ceremonies, and it is incredible, just like the Olympics would be.
Yeah, no,
And as an example of that too, we Jesus and I were lucky enough to go last year with our teams, and the final 6 teams performed in a stadium essentially with 7,000 people watching them. That doesn't happen for middle school in any other kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, that's just insane to think about. In all honesty, that's crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. Been a pleasure talking with you 3, and I can't wait to see what the kids are going to do. And hopefully, if we can work things out, if we can get the stars aligned, we can do a live remote with you guys over in Dallas on your laptop. I can be here, and we can get a live report on how it's going.
Yeah,
because that would be fun, and to get the kids on, ask them how it's going.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And so it'd be a lot of fun. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in, and for those that have tuned in and watched, appreciate you guys tuning in for that. But stick with us throughout the next few days. We will have some updates on things as the teams are going, and just keep watch on that. And again, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Thanks.